Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're gonna discuss about repotting new orchids. If you know me, you know that I always suggest you always repot new orchids because you never know if you have some issues with the root system. Maybe medium is very old, very acidic and toxic. Maybe even some pest problems. However, when I say this, I don't necessarily mean that you should repot an orchid the moment you step into the house, particularly if it is in bloom. So I'll talk a little bit more about this. Now, of course, eventually it is a very good idea to repot your orchid, but most probably when you purchase your orchid, it is still in bloom. It is a common fact that some orchids that are in bloom, if you disturb their root system, they will lose some buds, they will lose some flowers. It doesn't always happen, not even with Phalaenopsis orchids, but this depends on the state of health of your orchid, but not only actually. So sometimes it does happen that you get an orchid into your home, you don't repot it, don't do anything dramatic to it, but still it loses buds, it loses flowers. And this is because your orchid is trying to acclimate to its new environment. Maybe the store environment or even the nursery environment was totally different than your environment. So no matter what you do, it will lose some blooms. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. Now, if you have the very same orchid and you choose to repot it and it starts to lose blooms, you would think that repotting actually induced it, when actually it might have not. Also, you need to know how long your orchid has been in bloom. If you purchase an orchid with all of its blooms open, you have no idea how long they have stayed in bloom. So when you bring it home, in about a week after you repot it, perhaps it starts losing flowers. Now, this is not necessarily because you repotted it. It might be that the flowers have reached their end, but you cannot know. So some of the times when orchids lose blooms after repotting, it's not really related to the repotting process itself, it's related to other factors. However, disturbance of the roots can indeed lead to loss of buds or loss of blooms. So in this case, should we repot new orchids or shouldn't we? Well, I'll tell you what I do. When I get a new orchid, I do analyze it as best as I can. I try to see if the roots are in good condition, if foliage is nice, it's not dehydrated, if I don't see any munched roots, and of course, if the medium smells okay after I water it, I know there are no decomposing things inside it, like decomposing roots or even the bark itself. So in this case, if I have an orchid that has nice blooms, I want to enjoy them a little more, and the orchid looks perfectly fine, the medium does not give me reasons to doubt it, I can leave it like that for a little longer. It can be a week, it can be 2 weeks. However, it is important to quarantine new orchids, whether you repot them or not. If you could keep them separate for a little while, it would be great. Sometimes pests on the leaves are not very visible at first, and you need to see the damage first, or maybe catch them in action. Some pests hide, and you don't necessarily observe them the first day. So with any new orchid, even if you don't repot it, it is a good idea to separate it. So if you think your orchid is perfectly fine and you don't want to risk losing the blooms, you can definitely keep it like that for a little longer. I've actually kept orchids like this for a whole month and everything was okay, but eventually I did repot them. Also, not all orchids will stay in bloom for a lot of time. Things like Phalaenopsis, yes, they will most probably stay in bloom for months, but Oncidiums, Cattleyas, even Dendrobiums, they have a much shorter blooming period. So it's perfectly fine if you can wait until the blooms fall off on their own and then go ahead and repot it. However, there are instances when an orchid needs to be repotted right away, and I had a few cases when the medium is clearly broken down, when the roots are rotten and you can see them through the pot, that they're not green, they're not doing so great. In that instance, even if the orchid has flowers, it's a good idea to cut the flower spike because she is a very depleted orchid and flowers will only drain too much energy. So you might as well go ahead and repot it. It's going to be beneficial for the orchid even if you have to give up the flowers. Also, you might notice that the medium is full of snails or mealybugs or who knows what, and you need to get rid of it before you actually bring it into any room of your house. Again, that's a very good reason to repot it the moment you have some time available. So you can see how there are some special situations in which you really should repot it as soon as you can, even when you come at home, and some situations in which you can actually wait a little longer until you repot your orchid. So whenever I say that new orchids should be repotted just to be safe, I don't necessarily mean repot it right away. You need to assess the health of your plant, assess the medium, and all of those components, and then you can make a much better decision. So alrighty guys, thank you for watching and for suggesting this idea. I know one of my viewers asked me about it. And before I let you go, please take a moment to rate this video below with a like if you've enjoyed it, or a dislike if you didn't really enjoy it. Also, a share would be fabulous. These are things that really help my channel grow and help me continue to do what I love. Subscribe to my channel for more orchid videos, and if you ever want to send me a letter, I have an address right here or down below in the description. Choose an option on the screen if you'd like to watch another orchid video from me, or visit my website orchidnature.com. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!